Well, I'm with Jorge, and Jorge is a Mexican, but he has spent 2 years of his life in Honduras, so he brings that perspective to us. Now, Jorge, tell us, what is life like in Honduras right now?
Just like 2 months ago, I was working there in a project, and I was working with young people, and I made like a kind of a poll, or like a kind of research, and I asked them how many of these like young kids were thinking about going to United States or to another place, and 64% of the guys said that they were thinking about moving to United States. Another thing, I asked them,
And by the way, the reason would be lack of economic opportunity in Honduras?
and about that, I also asked them about what about jobs, what about violence, and it was like shocking, because they said that like every guy knew like six people around them that were in alcohol, in drugs, in gangs. And they told me that even though they wanted to find jobs, for example, girls say like we can't get them because they say that we are girls and they prefer men. No? And also young guys said, oh, like the wages are not enough. Oh, then after that, I talked with people, with companies, and all these businessmen. I said, "What do you think about this?" And they said, "The oil or gas is increasing the price. Also, the price of electricity is increasing. The wages, the taxes are increasing." And so they said, even though we want to hire people, it's impossible because we can't pay them the wages that they deserve. So I really think that this is the result of the politics and also the things that the actual president is doing, because as far as I have seen, he reelected himself even though it was against the constitution, and there was a huge mobilization against him, and people just like were so disappointed and so frustrated when they saw that nothing was happening. And I have just talked with some people, and I told them, what do you think would have happened if the democracy would have served? Like if there would have been an imposition of this president, and they said we maybe would have stayed there. But we see that there's no other solution, because even though we struggle, even though we fight, nothing is changing.
Now, Jorge, as you said, so many of the Honduran men you spoke to said that they know so many who are alcoholics, drug users, members of gangs. Given that number of people are into those vices, is this a reason why Americans should be fearful of this impending caravan heading to their border?
As far as I have seen, maybe gangs are staying there. The people that is coming here is people that is afraid of all these gangs, afraid of this violence. And the reasons why they're afraid is not just because of gangs. It's also because, like 2 months ago, there was a lack of rain, so people lost all of their crops in one region. Another thing is that they haven't implemented or put in action some programs in order to prevent disasters, such as the one that they had like 20 years ago with the Hurricane Mitch. So these are all these things or these factors that are affecting the people. And so it's not just a matter of gangs or thinking that a gang is coming to United States. I have seen that there are a lot of young kids, old men, and they are not related with that. Maybe we can see that maybe, I don't know, like 1% of the people that is coming in the caravan is related with a gang, but they are over there.
But Jorge, I guess the question arises, if these are indeed honest, law-abiding people, then why not apply through the proper channels to become American citizens instead of just trying to cross the border illegally?
As far as I see, I think that suddenly there was a kind of big expectancy or a kind of huge hope among these people, because they were in these conditions that I have described. So I have just been talking with the people, and they said suddenly some group of persons or some group of people said, no, we have to move to United States. So it was like kind of snowball. They started to grow and grow, and so I think that they said, is if we have tried to do something here, if we have tried to go there, uh, they are appealing to God right now. I told him, what do you think? Donald Trump is moving 1,500 soldiers in the frontier. He said that he's not going to let you in. What are you going to do? And they said, we're going to pray. The same way that the people move out from Egypt is the same way that God is going to help us to make Donald Trump change his mind.
Do you think this might all end up in a tragic situation? As you mentioned, President Trump is not open to these people coming into the United States. He's deploying thousands of troops to the border, might even shut down the border in the weeks ahead if the caravan makes it that far. What if this is a fool's errand? What if this was all for nothing, that once they get there, they're going to end up getting deported back to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador?
I'm really afraid of that. I've been talking with people, and the moment when I knew about this, I said, like, what is it going to happen? Because
It seems kind of likely, though, doesn't it?
yeah, because it's like a big exodus, and so what is it going to happen? They're going to go to the frontier. They're not going to let them in. So what is it going to happen? Are they going to stay there and in the states of Mexico that are the hottest ones, that has the hardest weather? So what are they going to do? I really don't know. And believe me, I have talked with like 10 groups of persons over here, and they said, oh, we're going to pray. And this is in the moment when even though I respect religion, I say, like, man, I think that we need something else. And they have, there's like a lack of plan. They are just like moving and moving, and there's another caravan coming and another caravan coming. So what is it going to happen? Are we going to end up with 50,000 people in the frontier? And
Well, you raise a great question, because the Mexican government has offered asylum to, and I believe about 20% have accepted it, and we're talking work permits for jobs, health care, shelter in some cases. I'm wondering how, first of all, why the Mexican government would do this step, and secondly, what do the Mexican people, how do they feel about this? Because we've traveled through the countryside. We've seen some incredibly impoverished communities. I mean, does Mexico have that kind of generosity to give thousands of people?
well, this is an historical fact. I mean, like last century, when there was like the civilian war in Spain, a lot of people moved over there, and Mexico gave them asylum, and also the Italian people, and a lot of communities have come here into Mexico. But the question now is that I talk with them, and they say, there's some people from Chiapas and from Oaxaca and from Guerrero that have joined us. So as you can see, this is the snowball is increasing, yeah. And another thing is that I know that our future president has really good hope and really good attitude, but this is going to be a big problem because we have a lack of jobs, as you have said.
Yes.
Yeah? And even though he's trying to implement like good public policies, I don't know if it's going to work with this amount of people. In Honduras, they have 8 million people. Just think about this: 50,000 moving over here, and about El Salvador and about Guatemala. What are we going to do with such a big community? When there was like the civilian war in Guatemala like 20 years ago, there were like 150,000 people in Chiapas that were refugees, and Mexico received them. But after the war was over, a lot of people moved back, some others stayed here, but
Indeed, and I'm wondering too, to bring it back to the American angle, isn't President Trump in a bind here? How could he allow this group in, even if he wanted to, because it would set a precedent, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Every week there would be a caravan from all over the world coming into America if the message is sent that you don't need to immigrate legally, just crash the border and you're in. So I'm thinking for that reason alone, this cannot be allowed to come into the United States.
I agree. Even though I have like a humanitarian point of view, I agree. There's sovereignty, there's some legal points of view, and there's something that is deep, deep inside of the problem. And it's not just like, okay, let them in. You know, if the U.S. government wants to do something, they have to stop supporting the governments that we have or they have over there in Central America or in Honduras, but they supported the re-election of this president, and the people over here told me, you know, there's no way in which that's going to change over there because United States supported that re-election and that's illegal and we didn't want it, and it's there. So I think that beyond that, there must be like some other changes, you know, like in foreign policy.
Okay. And Jorge, one last question. What we're trying to do, of course, is find out who exactly is organizing this caravan, and more importantly, who's funding it. I mean, some of the logistics, it's not for free, certainly. Do you have any theories on that?
Well, I talked with the people, and there was one initial theory that the left-wing party from Honduras was founding this, but I don't think so. And I just asked them a couple of times, do you think that the left-wing party is supporting you? And they say, no way, no way, this doesn't have to deal with that. And so also they told me they have offered us like 30,000 lempiras, the currency from Honduras, to go back, and we are not going to accept it. We're moving on. And so I think that they are receiving a lot from different like support groups from Mexico and from NGOs. But as I have told you, the problem is going to be what are they going to do on the border? And they told me that they are like some kind of small cells from regions, because I have been moving and I found people from one department, from one another, and so they are all band together as a strategy to prevent the attacks from organized crime here in Mexico. And that, I think that's why they decided to put this caravan, because they saw that before, when they were moving from Mexico, over Mexico, they were attacked by this organized crime that we have here. So they say, okay, let's be 1,000 and we're going to be safer.
And speaking of organized crime, one theory we've heard too is that the closer you get to the U.S.-Mexico border, the cheaper it is for a coyote to bring you across illegally. Do you think that might be the mindset of some of these people, that once they get within 100 kilometers or so of the U.S. border, they'll split off, hire a coyote or get family in the U.S. to pay for a coyote service to smuggle them in illegally apart from the group?
That might be an option. As a fact, I just talked with some people over here that they are also trying to migrate, and they told me that a coyote asked for 100,000 pesos to cross them. 30,000 are for cross from the south part of Mexico to the border, and after that 70 or 60,000 pesos to cross. If they don't cross, they don't pay the rest, but if they moved, for example, from here to Chihuahua, they still have to pay that money. So in a way, maybe they could be saving like 30,000 pesos.
Okay, it's a 30% discount then.
30%, but I think that as far as they told me, they are thinking about staying there in the frontier and start to pressing or pushing the U.S. government, waiting for a miracle. So like the international opinion or public opinion maybe will move in favor of them. But as you have also said, what is it going to happen? Is it going to be like a president, and so 100 and 100 or 1,000 people, and maybe from Africa, from the Caribbean, or they are going to say, okay, let's do a caravan? And I think Donald Trump just like said it perfectly well. We don't have enough space here in the United States for all the people impoverished in the world. And he's right with that fact. But the thing is that instead of closing the border, start using like foreign policy in order to promote well-being all over the world, not just your so-called democracy. You know?
Hey folks, continue to check out all my reports from Mexico at caravanreports.com. That's caravanreports.com. And if you can, please chip in so that we can pay for this very important mission.